Greetings from Boston. Welcome back to Tennis Talk Daily, or maybe we could call it Tennis Talk Twice Daily, or 3 times or 4 times. These big tournaments make me want to talk about tennis because I'm watching so much tennis. But we have a number of the other quarterfinals that I wanted to cover. We already talked about Federer versus Chung. I want to talk about Coric versus Anderson. That will begin momentarily, as well as Quarry versus Raonic. But the most important person that I want to talk about is Juan Martín Del Potro. Now, Del Potro, of course, is the guy that we're all looking at in terms of a possible contender for this crown, a possible player that could give Federer a run for his money. So I want to look closely at this upcoming quarterfinal that'll happen tomorrow between Juan Martín Del Potro and Philipp Kohlschreiber. So welcome to the channel. Subscribe to the channel to get the essential commentary. We're doing daily, sometimes twice, 3 times, 4 times daily during these big tournaments. Give the video a thumbs up if you like what you see and hear. Subscribe to the channel to get it all. We're doing the most extensive coverage I can give you, the most up-to-date analysis I can give you. So what can we say about these quarterfinals? Well, we can see it through the sort of lens of the generations and the different ages of the players. I do think, the older players do tend to be a little more present at the quarterfinal stage than the youngsters. We do have, of course, Chung and Coric, but the rest of them are fairly old, with the possible exception of Raonic, who I think is 27. But, of course, he's been around for a while, sort of a lost generation person, but he's been around for a while, kind of almost graduating up into the older ranks. But we will definitely be watching closely these next-gen people. I mean, it's kind of an indicator of the people in the next-gen that might be breaking through fairly shortly. Coric, who has a kind of Djokovic-based game, as well as Chung, who also has kind of a Djokovic-based game. So that's what I said this morning, that the spirit of Djokovic lives on, and that's true, and it'll be a test for that Djokovic style of play, particularly in the match between Chung and Federer. In terms of Coric, Anderson, listen, I think Kevin Anderson is in pretty fine form. He fought back and took that match away from Carreño Busta, and I think that Anderson could have the edge there, and my prediction is that Anderson will prevail over Coric to reach the semifinal in 3 sets, and there he will most likely meet Roger Federer. So on the other quarterfinals, you have Quarry versus Raonic. Raonic has looked fairly good this week. He will be rested because Baghdatis retired from his 4th round match, and so Raonic got an extra day to rest. I do think, however, given the level of play that I've seen from these 2 players, Quarry and Raonic, that Quarry will get through to the semifinal again in 3 sets. And then finally, Juan Martín Del Potro. And not Del Potro, I think, right? It's Del Potro. Let me know if there's a couple of Argentines out there, and you can give your estimation of my pronunciation of Juan Martín Del Potro. I like to kind of speed it up. It's kind of like 0 to 60. You start slow. Juan Martín Del Potro. Juan Martín Del Potro. I love his name. Matt over Coffee Break Tennis likes to riff on Carreño Busta, but I really like Del Potro's name. I like to see to say it more, but it's not Del Potro, it's Del Potro. Okay, or at least that's kind of what I've heard. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. But we saw a couple of weaknesses emerge in Del Po's game in the match against Meyer. Of course, in the first set, Del Potro really was not looking too good. I mean, he was playing fine. It was probably his second serve percentage in terms of the points won on his second serve that were really giving him problems. The longer rallies also saw Del Potro faltering. And then, of course, I mean, Meyer was playing very well. Very few errors from Meyer. But then Del Potro comes back. I mean, he does this. He'll lose these first sets sometimes. And, you know, I was going to say about him, we were talking about Roger's sort of steely, serious kind of look that he has out on the court. One commenter called him a tennis demon, and that is kind of true. I mean, he really does get into that zone. On the one hand, you saw this a little bit in last night's match, where it was simultaneously with Federer, that serious tennis demon, but also this tremendous sense of kind of relaxed play. He was so relaxed and yet so intense. There's another Federer paradox: intensity versus sort of relaxation, essentially, on the court, which is really interesting. But with respect, going back to Del Potro, we're getting off on a Federer tangent here. It's hard not to get off on Federer tangents. But with Del Potro, well, I think that against Kohlschreiber, who hits a one-hander, who is can approach the game with a kind of all-court style, and can be very devastating on the ground strokes and also on the approach shots. The history is interesting with Delpo and Kohlschreiber, because Kohlschreiber's actually beaten Delpo on the last 2 times they've met, and that was on grass and clay. But Delpo does look good against Kohlschreiber in all of the previous instances on hard court, in particular outdoor hard court, and that includes both Miami and Indian Wells. Now, those were a few years ago, those matches. But Delpo is finding form. I think if Delpo serves well, I think if he minimizes backhand errors, I think if he probably should mix in a few of those slice backhands that he tends to do these days. Of course, he needs to accentuate that forehand, that booming forehand of his, and run around a few of those shots. Kohlschreiber will probably be hitting to Delpo's backhand. Delpo needs to get the footwork down and run around some of those shots for some inside-out forehands. But Delpo, if he does those things, he should be okay. But the previous point about Federer and Delpo is that Delpo does have that very serious intensity as well. He can be very dead serious and a bit kind of irascible and a little angry too. He will get very, very animalistic and serious out there in the court. So that's sort of what I saw last night in the match with Meyer. Delpo was able to really hold it together, and that was an impressive, a very impressive win. It shows that Delpo can just go the distance. So those are my soft predictions. I do think Delpo will get by Kohlschreiber. It might be a straight set affair. I'd be willing to budge a little bit. It might go 3 sets. So then, what kind of semifinals are we looking like? It's looking like, again, a kind of soft prediction here. It'd be Querrey versus Delpo on the one side, and then on the other side, Federer versus Anderson. And that prediction will sort of substantiate this old guard thesis. Those semifinals will include none of the next generation folks. According to that kind of estimation, that prediction, who knows what will happen. Tennis is tennis, but I think based on the evidence that we have, that those predictions are pretty solid. But I'm very excited to watch these matches. Things are coming to a head out in the desert. Strange things happen in the desert, but I don't think it's going to get too strange this time. I think Roger Federer will make sure it doesn't get too strange. So follow us on Twitter. Make sure to, because we're doing some tweets throughout the matches. Not like every point, but it's kind of giving you an update. I've got both the footage going, both the live video footage as well as the signal coming through, the scores coming through on the internet, which are a little quicker than the video, but I will be giving you as much up-to-date commentary and analysis on Twitter as I can, given the other constraints. I have my son and dinner going and a whole lot of things going on in the household, but I will try to do my best. So look forward to talking with you soon. I will be definitely back tomorrow for more commentary on the matches, and see you soon. Bye.